This chapter will be on cartilage and bone. You've already been introduced to the skeletal system, which is one of the main organ systems with tissues. As you now know, it is a living system. When people think of the skeletal system, it conjures up images of graveyards and dead skeletons, but it's a very alive tissue, as you'll be learning in the next few chapters. So we will be talking about the tissue of bone, as well as reviewing the cartilage that you have already been introduced in the tissue chapter. As you know, hyaline cartilage is the most common in the body. This system includes ligaments, which, remember, they are dense, regular connective tissue. So we're going to be talking about different types of connective tissue in this chapter. There's also other supporting connective tissues included as well. Recall that the prefix chondro is referring to cartilage. So a chondroblast is an immature cartilage cell, and a chondrocyte is a mature cartilage cell. The prefix osteo is referring to bone. So there again, we have an osteoblast, which is immature, and an osteocyte, which is mature bone cell. So cartilage is weaker than bone, but more flexible and resilient. The mature cartilage itself is avascular. This is one of the reasons that it takes longer to heal cartilage damage. Recall there is a matrix found in connective tissue, unlike other types of tissue. And that matrix has protein fibers in it, such as collagen and elastin, to name a couple. Within cartilage, as well as other types of connective tissue, there's also a ground substance that makes it up. So the cells in cartilage, as I've mentioned before, are the chondroblast. These are going to be the immature types of cartilage cell that are going to be producing matrix. And then the mature cartilage cells are called chondrocytes, and they are surrounded by matrix. And specifically, they're going to be in small spaces, which are called lacuna, or lacunae for plural. So the distribution of cartilage in the human body is something that you should be aware of. Notice on this slide, we see micrographs similar to what you've seen in the previous chapters about tissues. This is the hyaline cartilage, fibrocartilage, and elastic cartilage. Here we have elastic cartilage because of the presence of elastic fibers, and fibrocartilage, which has an abundance of collagen. Notice in all examples, there are these eye-like structures, which are chondrocytes in lacunae. So let's take a look at where some of these cartilages are actually located. There's cartilage in the external ear, which is elastic cartilage. And you can see by the key at the bottom of this figure, by the color, it shows you what type of cartilage it is. So the elastic cartilage is in kind of a lavender / purple color, which would be the elastic cartilage in the external ear here. Also, it's found in the epiglottis. So there's not as many examples of elastic cartilage. The most common type of cartilage is going to be hyaline cartilage, which is a kind of a light bluish color. So articular cartilage is hyaline cartilage on the ends of long bones. We see it found in the nose, in this general vicinity right here. Costal cartilage is another example of hyaline cartilage found between the ribs and the sternum. So this is a zoomed in image of a long bone showing the articular cartilage. Also, the epiphyseal plate is hyaline cartilage, The epiphyseal plate is what is commonly referred to as the growth plate. And as we get closer to adulthood, that epiphyseal plate will be replaced by what's called a growth line. And at that point, there is no longer hyaline cartilage that is present. So we can see the epiphyseal plate on the distal end of the humerus shown in this example. Other examples of hyaline cartilage include the articular cartilage shown in the knee joint here, in the ankle region, in the larynx, as well as the trachea. And then fibrocartilage contains much more collagen. It's more like a shock absorber. So it's in places like the intervertebral disc, as well as the pubic symphysis, and finally the menisci. So it's important that you know those various locations of cartilage throughout the body. So the function of cartilage is that it is a supporting soft tissue. Three main functions include things like keeping the airways in the respiratory system, an auricle of the ear open. They also provide gliding joints for places like articulations, which are joints. So you're going to have a chapter coming up solely on articulations. And then finally, when we're beginning development in the embryo, we are essentially a model of hyaline cartilage. That cartilage is going to continue to grow, and then eventually it's replaced by bone. However, there's areas of the body where the hyaline cartilage remains, for example, the articular cartilage at the ends of long bones, as well as the costal cartilage that remain. And the other areas of the body are, of course, replaced by another type of connective tissue, which is bone. Bones of the skeleton are very complex and dynamic organs containing all four tissue types, which is what, by definition, remember, makes them an organ. So it's primarily bone connective tissue. The extracellular matrix, which is found in connective tissue, is sturdy and rigid due to deposition of minerals, and that process is called calcification. Functions of bone include support and protection of the most delicate organs. So that would predominantly be in a part of the skeleton called the axial skeleton. When we think of the skull, the thoracic cage, protecting the very important organs like the heart, as well as the lungs, and the vertebral cavity. Another function for bones would be movement because it serves as attachment sites for muscles. Now, later on in this chapter, you're going to be learning about some of those attachment sites. The tendons actually anchor the muscles to the bones at specific sites. Another function would be hemopoiesis, which is red blood cell production that happens in the red bone marrow. There's storage of mineral and energy reserves. The energy reserves would be in the form of yellow bone marrow, which has lipids, specifically lipid droplets of triglycerides for energy reserves. And then the minerals that are stored are calcium as well as phosphate.